Welcome to the Soft Rebellion podcast, a homecoming to the creative power of your female body. Our world uproots us from the gifts of the feminine, the intuitive, the instinctual, the cyclical, the soft. What's the result? Patriarchal cultures of perfectionism, shame, and disconnect that leave us constantly running, never arriving. Imagine a world of women softly rebelling, claiming our cyclicity, our weirdness, and our rest as we courageously cultivate a deep and delicious relationship to our female bodies. My name is Florina. I'm an osteopath, dancer, writer, and coach. I've been on my own journey sparked by an eating disorder to come home to the wild, poetic anatomy of my female body and awaken my creative power. And I invite you to join me and my guests, trailblazing teachers, healers, and creatives, as we each reclaim our own soft rebellion. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Soft Rebellion. Let me ask you, what does your womb mean to you? How do you relate to her and nurture your relationship to and with your womb? What if you are invited to tune into her movement and join her dance? What if our homecoming journey is about learning to perceive the anatomy of ourself rather than a textbook and fall in love with your sensual experience? I am so excited to be welcoming Anja Gysin back onto the podcast. She was a guest in the very beginning when I launched the Breathing Body podcast. It's probably around 1.5 years back. Anja is a dancer, a choreographer, a somatic movement educator in body-mind centering. She teaches movement and dance as a healing force for over 25 years. And in her artistic as well as in her teaching approach, the nature of human being within is in the focus, and in that way she gives room for the unfolding of the individual and at the same time space for the opening to the spirit that connects everything. Yes, in my experience, Anja is a true medicine dancer and a true soft rebellion. And in our conversation, we shared and explored about both our embodied womb journey. Our womb is our first physical home. It's a deep connection to the inner world, a symbol for our dreams, for what we want to birth into the world. It is a transformational space and the source of all life and place of feminine unfolding. And for all of you who have been following my work and this podcast for a while, you know how utterly important the menstrual cycle, my womb, menstrual cycle awareness is. And it really is the power of my cycle and the power of my womb, which sparks my softly rebellious expression and work in the world and into the world over and over again. And this is such a sweet, soft, and deeply profound conversation. Enjoy and lean back. And if you do enjoy this podcast, I'm not going to interrupt in the middle, so I say now, then please share it with all your friends. Leave a review. Just give me a follow on whatever podcast platform you are listening. You literally can't imagine how much of a support that is to just keep spreading the work of the soft rebellion. Lots of love. Good morning, Anja, and officially welcome back. I'm so excited to talk to you.
Thank you, Florina, and welcome back.
And this morning when I woke up, I realized, I'm actually not sure if I told you or if you witnessed, because when we last spoke, can I remember when that was? Oh goodness me, it was more than a year ago. It was in the big kind of after like 6 months when I launched the Breathing Body podcast. And in the meantime, it got a new title and it kind of transformed, like our womb is transforming monthly. And it's now that you're now talking on the Soft Rebellion podcast, which is all about a homecoming, for me, a homecoming to the hunger and the creative power of the female body. It was so interesting with these conversations, also the one I had with you. I just got led to, I had to follow the transformation which was calling in me.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, and this is why that's also a couple of months ago or more, I received your weekly newsletters, which are also, by the way, such a joy to read. It's one of those which I actually really enjoy reading sometimes when I'm still in bed. And couple of times in those newsletters you were talking about and describing about the work you have done around the womb and what you're offering at the moment. And in German that's called Tanz der Gebärmutter, so dance of your womb. The dance of your womb. And when I saw that, I thought, oh, this is the time I have to invite Anja back. And I'd love to, I just felt like, wow, interesting. Both of us suddenly in some ways got very busy exploring that womb space through movement, through a very embodied lens. And so here we are, finding our way into a womb conversation.
Yes, I mean, or it's nice to feel your resonation also in this theme, and I think we're not the only one. I think it's you can also see it as there is also a big womb around the world, and there is often this resonance in when things start to happen or things start to come more in consciousness. And I think it's something that it's really time for, that we raise awareness for our own womb and also the social womb that we are in. And it's also something that really, similar to you, I never did a workshop or led a seminar so specific on a physical topic. I mean, it's much more than physical, what I was just saying, but it was also something that was just calling in, and so I really feel that there is also the social womb that we are in, and this female awakening is sometimes a little bit too esoteric for me, but this coming into consciousness of us, of you, of me, of this in this world.
I can see what it's interesting, right? Sometimes I also hear the word female awakening, and sometimes it really feels aligned, and sometimes I feel resistance towards that. But then I think, wow, doch, female awakening isn't about all of us raising awareness or becoming conscious of the feminine archetype, these feminine qualities, which in a way are so exactly, they are not even bound to a gender. They're in all of us, and that is, which I think is why you said the social womb is what the world so desperately needs. And it is a fact that we as women or also menstruate, or as women or beings inhabiting a bleeding body is what I quite like to call it. This organ, the womb, is so much more than just a physical organ to us, and it is it is a gateway or a door, or it brings us into a whole different universe, and it allows us to access something which we can then bring into the world. it has to do with power also, Anja, doesn't it?
Of course, yes. I mean, it's our center. It's our physically center that roots us in ourselves, and yeah, connects us with much more than we are, and from where we're coming, and from where we are going. And yeah, about this awakening, I think what is, it's not so aligning for me. It's not I don't think we were asleep. It was, it's not, we were not sleeping. It's just, it was different timing if we are looking back in our ancestral history as well. And so it's more it's the time for it. So it's for me not, oh, now I'm awake. That's just the thing that is not resonating with me. It's more this, because dream time is very important as well. That's why it's but it's this becoming aware of that this womb is not just here when I menstruate and when I have, for example, pain or something, that I feel it. It's a center. It's like in indigenous culture they call it the second heart. So it has this deeper connection of female strength. And for me, I did a workshop, or I offered a workshop in autumn, and it was such a powerful experience in a way of becoming actually aware of this beautiful being down here, and start to communicate with it. And what it really struck me is that there's so much pain, there's so much suffering in there, that it's not just mine. It comes from the whole history that we are carrying us, and to give space for that as well, because this becoming aware, for me, it also has all that in there, all the feelings we have of being women, of being in a body that has this cycles, this cycles, and resonates with the moon. I mean, resonates with each other. I did when I studied dance, we were, I think, 12 women, and I did, it's a long time ago, but I still remember, I did like a chart about when each one is bleeding, and within 3 months there were kind of two groups. There was the new moon and there was the full moon bleeding around, and it was so touching, because we spent the whole week together, and this resonating with each other of having time, or spending time with each other, and this resonating with each other from the womb. It's so strong, and with the moon, the womb and the moon. I like that in English.
Yeah, that's true. Moon and womb. Yeah, that just doesn't quite work in German. Mutter und Mond. It just doesn't work, moon and womb. You're opening so many interesting paths we could go down, and we will go down. But maybe, what would be really interesting? I would, if you're willing to do that, I would love to hear a little bit about your womb journey, and take us back as long, because it's so, as long as far back as it needs. It's so powerful to hear from other women how their, I always, on one level for me, it very much feels like a homecoming journey, But then last week I read this amazing book from a woman called Sharon Blakey, and she talks about how when we restore connection, so for example with our body, it's about restoring, so restoring, and that I really love that. So now I'm going to ask you, how did you restore your connection to your womb space, or what is your womb journey, Anja?
That's a beautiful question.
Womb journey.
I never put that into words yet, so let's see
what happens.
What comes, because I will, I'm connecting here with my womb and having my hand on it and listening what kind of she wants to tell. I was fortunate. I was very early, with I think 18 or 20. I got over the book The Red Moon. I think it was called Red Moon, about the different cycles of the whole menstruation. And this was, so it was quite early an awareness of the different cycles or of the different phase in a cycle. But of course with 20, 30 was this, if I was bleeding, I put a tampon in, and I work clearly on. Straight on. Although that was also quite early though. With 20, I think 23, 24, I was in Canada. I was in a yoga center, and there I already discovered the cups. That was kind of really the beginning. So from then on, I actually used mostly the cups, except when I was dancing. So like being upside down and things. And now I feel I'm talking around it. I'm talking about the stuff around it. I'm talking not really, because your question is so beautiful about my womb journey. It's more how I handled it.
Yeah, we are now both exploring what does that actually mean, womb journey.
Exactly.
Yeah, so
and it's beautiful. It's like and I mean what's the womb journey? I mean, this with the cup was quite something new for me, because to have not this tampon in it that kind of sucks the womb out from a feeling, like the Schleimhaut, was a different feeling inside of the womb. So this was something that was in my path. And then I studied dance, and I think my second solo was called Frau sein, being a woman.
Wow.
And there was a lot inside of there was also a lot of anger in there, of like how to take my place in the world, how what's the stigmatizing from outside, of bringing all together and things. And so this was very important for me to get in that creative process, and actually asking what is it from outside, what is it in me, what is there. And another key that comes, it's so beautiful to talk about that. Another key point, I think that was before. I was in Canada, and I was invited. It just happened to be that I was on an Indian reserve. They opened for 5 days, and there was a women's circle, and I went. And I can't really remember what we did. I know we were singing and chanting and doing things, and then she said, the woman who was leading that, it can be that you start bleeding tonight. And I was in the middle of the cycle, not on the bleeding. And I started bleeding. I bleeded for a couple of hours and it was gone again.
Wow.
And this really struck me because I was like, what? Again, with this resonating with this woman circle of what's possible there. So, it kind of struck my thinking mind. So this was, it's nice to think about this back. This was really important. Yes, and then it got a little bit in the back, I would say, till, I don't know, till having children and giving birth, and this amazingness of that this womb can widen so largely and hold a human being. I mean, this really touched me, and still, I mean, it's so day by day, but the women get pregnant, and but I mean, it's this organ that's 7 centimeters big, and then it widens to hold the whole baby. It's so amazing.
It's pure magic.
Yes, it's so there is so, and so it's like this magic that came in more and more. I think, this word, if you say that really resonates. It's like, when I was saying that with the indigenous people, and it really like this magic that I carry here in the center. And now talking to you, it's so alive. I really feel it. It's so warm. It's there. Yes, and then more and more with the embodied process of getting more intense, or then more in the body-mind centering, of really getting to the different organs. And the womb wasn't so much in my studies, but then I studied because I was very interested, and then it's like where my interest goes, also my offerings, my seminars, my things go. And often in my one-to-one session, it was often the womb, when women were there, often the womb, like how to, the connection, the having space in the pelvis, actually, for that womb, because it's so close to the bladder. And often I felt, that's now a little bit away from my story, but maybe it was also in my that the bladder and the womb, that they get friends. It's really like this feeling that they get friends, and that it's not like the bladder gets bigger and takes a lot of space, of course, and then it goes, we pee and it goes, and the womb has more space, so that they are communicating. And I think that's what I really took then, the impulse to do a seminar. It's like this communication, because I really believe in that we can communicate with the whole body, and especially the body can communicate with us. That's beyond words, because my womb doesn't have words. So it's like, but it has feelings, it has memories, restory, what you were saying before, to have like, to listen to those stories. It's like, when I take that out, when, for example, a child that is crying about something, and I say, psh, don't be, I don't, psh. But if I hear you, it doesn't need to, I understand you or whatever, but I hear you, it mostly changes. And that's like what I feel with the womb. It's like, I hear you. And then something already starts to move, to come into presence. Yes.
I'm briefly, I've captured your, I know exactly where I stop you, but I'm briefly going to stop you, because now I get really excited. I do have to, because we are both some, I would say, poetic anatomists, right?
Yes.
And exactly, I call myself an embodied embryologist and a poetic anatomist. And absolutely, I want to really convey that to all the listeners. It's absolutely most beautiful, that wildly poetic landscape in our pelvic ball, because exactly the womb is like, I always say, it's resting upon, it's leaning, it's snuggling itself onto the body of the bladder, right? These two organs couldn't be actually in a more, they really yield into each other. And it's interesting, right? Our bladder goes through a cycle as well, but through a more irregular cycle, and it's a shorter cycle. But exactly the movement of that bladder emptying, filling is a stimuli, is a massage, is an impulse for the womb, for the uterus to be moved. And I always find, on some level, I think these two organs are so different, but also they actually share so much together. And I just, that's so amazing that you brought up that image. And yeah, I also want to reiterate what you said with what you experienced in that woman's circle, how you were in the middle of your cycle and you started bleeding. And I think that exactly for me is just, that shows me the womb, it is magical, and it is also very mystical. I mean, the womb has a lining and has qualities of blood which no other organ does. And it's able to do things, to expand, to grow. It's able to nurture and to hold the growing baby. That for me is just also, that is intelligence which is beyond any research capabilities of us human beings, in my view, ever. And where you kind of ended up to was when you said, and then I studied the womb. And also it's so beautiful to hear from you how you said your curiosity leads you to what your offerings are. And I think that's so how life should be. Yeah, we have to follow our curiosity, and that's what we can really share. And you said how communicating with the womb brought you into a space beyond words. And I feel, now our both journeys start to amalgamate and intermingle, because over the last, maybe especially 6 months, when I really started to more land in my womb, let's say it like that, land in my womb, which happened a lot through menstrual cycle awareness, through just really meeting my cycle with deeper awareness. I started using these words, Anja, or I felt, I'm dealing with something so real but so ungraspable, so unpalpable, but yet I can feel it. And I started calling the voice I feel through being in touch with my womb. I call it the voice of the feminine. Sometimes I feel it's like the voice of the forest, which is talking to me. And I started calling her this other kind of mind. And the one moment, and I know that, I think you shared that with me, the one media I found, or the space I found where I seem to understand these words which are no words, is when I move or when I dance. And now I give the microphone back to you. And I'd love to take us deeper into, you said I studied the womb, and I know that your work is based on movement and dance. What has your experience been?
It's nice what you bring, now making also the circle back with the bladder and the I mean, that's, a basic thing that I really realize is this of how to see or perceive the anatomy of myself, and not of this plastic puppet up there where you can take all the organs out or things. To really be aware that we have so much movement in us, so much, it's like this what you were saying about the bladder, or the womb that has its cycle, the whole digestive organ, the heart, the lung. There's so much movement, and not only in the organ, also between the organs. And I think this is so important to just the mindset of our anatomy, which is very, which came out of a very patriarchic thinking of and naming what is what and how. And I think, like what you say with the poetic, I love that. It's like to give new names. Like in the seminar, we also gave new names. What wants my womb be called? What is it? And maybe it can change, or being, or and this. It's not only about the womb, but this bridge I'm really supporting to make there a change in thinking, or change in how to look at ourselves. And this also has to do, the womb, we can take as this example of this being able to widening so much space, like to, widen our thinking, of widening our awareness, that it's not just this here that I'm sitting and talking to you, that there is much more going on. And of course I cannot be always aware about that, but the knowing already changes. Yes. And then now what you're asking for the dance and the movement, as I was calling also the seminar Dance of the Womb, that the womb, or each organ anyway, each cell has its own movement. And to bring that movement, or to let that movement connect to the whole body and bring it into a dance, that's beyond words. It's not like, okay, I'm dancing my womb. It's like, okay, where does it bring? And being, I always say, it's like entering in the back of the mind. It's not here. It's like, let the information come from the womb and see what's happening. And it's difficult to have words for that, because there are no words in the, that's why I love this, our moving dancing language.
Yeah, it's it's difficult to, it's hard to find the right words. And what now comes to my mind is to explore, share what are. I found a couple of some questions which have been so meaningful for me to because I would often, my very old kind of my original womb journey started with just knowing, okay, I'm on this and this day of my cycle, and I'm now going to write down how I feel and what is my energy. And I suddenly noticed, and which is great and which is an important part of it, just being aware of these very basics, let's call it. But I suddenly noticed, Anja, and that really struck me, I thought this, wow, interesting. I noticed how, let's say with menstrual cycle, being aware of the menstrual cycle, I suddenly noticed, wow, am I not actually now trying to, there is this concept of the seasons and of how every day, what is the let's say the archetypal cycle, and there is also a concept around that. And I sometimes suddenly wasn't quite sure, is this now really my lived experience, or because it's day one, I know I'm going to cancel everything. I'm just making an example. But maybe my being is actually calling for... So that really suddenly struck me, where I thought, I got a bit confused. Am I now trying to fulfill a concept, which I really love and I think is beautiful? But am I almost getting further away from what is my very visceral physical experience? And I think that for me really led me to, that was the moment when I thought, gosh, I need to move and dance, because I know that is the most honest media for me. When I move or dance, then my mind, as you said, we are in a different part than our forebrain, than our thinking analytical mind. This part just can't keep up. And two questions which I would start in the morning and put all the furniture away and think. Sometimes when I would ask myself if I was my womb, or I am my womb, but just asking that womb or imagining I am womb, fully womb, I'm just womb. I'm womb. How does this womb want to be held? And how does she want to be moved? And it's so interesting, as I share that with you, I've never shared with anyone. I think, wow, I'm not actually quite sure what does that mean. How does womb want to be held? How does she want to? Where is me? Where is womb? But these two, it's very poetic questions. Here it is again, poetry. It's very poetic. But what does it do, Anja? It brings us to another world. You speak in your course description about inner worlds. That's what it is, that inner world.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. That's beautiful. Really. And my womb, now hearing you, it gets so warm. Like it's like resonation. It's like it touches something deep. And this is this is probably hard to understand if you haven't felt it, or in your own felt sense.
Is it okay if I say something else? Because something else comes to mind now. Whilst you receive with your womb. Yeah, I feel right now I feel a collective pain. Or I think sometimes I feel my disconnect, and sometimes we feel, which is why it's so important was in the beginning, I feel our disconnects. And I'm so glad that you said how anatomy, and that wasn't so clear in my mind, but yeah, anatomy grew out of a very patriarchal world and perspective with, like, Descartes, I think, and therefore I am, this split was huge for what all happened after. And I think that a lot of us women, and I include myself, even in my osteopathy training, we learned about the womb first in that plastic doll and how you can just take it out, and in a book, and we got told this very anatomical story of the womb. And we meet the womb when we struggle with infertility, or when we have PCOS or endometriosis. I imagine just for many women, and we go to the GP, and it's being equally treated as this anatomical thing which we can fix. And I say that because I feel we just tap into something that is softly rebellious, and it's revolutionary to dive to go beyond this story which we got told from so many people, and this really touches me.
Yes, what resonates so much with me, and what I experience myself, is like to move and dance beyond analyzing it, of seeing where it goes, what the womb wants to express. Starts to, also we have like the Maybach, it's like the stories and the things, the traumas we have been told that have been implanted in our womb. If we start to move them, if we start to dance them, if we start to let them be part, because they are part as they are stored in our womb. And if we let them be part of being here and not neglect them. And through movement and dance, we can bring them in awareness, if it's with words or if it's with, sometimes I get physically pain in there that I cannot name why or what's going on. But so it can be part, it can be heard, what I was saying before with the child that you listen to. Mm-hmm. And through that they are becoming space. Yeah, really space. There is space for the own story. Mm-hmm. Then there is space for what's here now, it's like this widening. It's like the widening the womb of having space for what do I bring in, what do I don't want anymore, what would I like to give on. I mean, my older child, she starts puberty, she starts to get in that. So what do I give on? What's the next generation? What do I have from my generation? Do I know how my mother bleeded? Mm-hmm. Obviously she's not anymore, but it's like, what's her connection? What's my connection? Mm-hmm. What's going on? And so I think you cannot split them, like, what's my Prägungen, like my imprints from my past, collectively and also from my line, and what do I bring in. But there is more space for movement of those both, and that's why the dance, and I call it, it's the free dance. It's not like I do stamp. It's like, what is and then it's more the word maybe movement. What's the movement in my, if I sit here, or the listeners, when you sit here, and if you have a womb, what is it moving? Can I connect with it? Or is it when I have my hand here, can I feel it? Or is it something abstract that I know from anatomy books, from seeing pictures of the womb? And how can I start to move it? Maybe millimeter, move a little bit with it. And just listen. I really feel like it's not my ears, it's behind my ears of listening. Oh yeah. Mine at the moment is it feels so happy to we talk about that, and that it's heard. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I see you, Florina, you're kind of circling.
Yeah, I start to. Listeners can't see me, but I'm starting to move on my chair.
It's that dance is always this big thing. It doesn't need to be big. It can be really tiny. Mm-hmm. The inner dance, that's, you could say about the inner world. It's like this inner world.
The inner dance. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if we tap into the inner world, we meet this inner dance. And this reminds me again to what you said before, because that inner dance has never not been there, which is why we don't need to awaken to that inner dance. Yes. Like, it's always our body, I would say, we're all dancers, and it's always dancing. And there is this inner dance from so many. It's so interesting. I think what I really heard in what you just said now is how through dance and movement we, if we engage with our womb through dance, through movement, we give her a life on her own. Because if we meet her only through the book and the GP practice poster, we meet ultimately in the book it's dead structure, because it was drawn or taken a picture of a dead body. Right? And that really, I think, it's crazy how so many, we study the human body and we forget about the movements. And to dance, to improvise is such is such a big, and it's so big and bold in a way, because we give organs, we give this innerness a life on its own, if that makes sense.
Yes, and it's like this this picture. We all seen a womb, on pictures or on plastic, and to kind of start to melt that. I mean, if I feel in there, I don't feel my shape exactly of the womb as I see it on the pictures, but I can feel her presence. And I think this is very important, because often we think we need to exactly feel that, or when the lungs, that I feel exactly here. I don't think maybe it's possible, but for me it's more the importance that I feel the presence of it, so that I feel the presence of my womb, and it's not, that it turns there around, that I feel the presence of my inner organs, of my inner dance. Yes.
Yeah, and that makes me think, since in this last year, when you say that, in that last year, I'm not sure about you, I started meeting cramps so differently. Suddenly I met them with so much, I don't have a huge amount of cramps or premenstrual symptoms or pain, but I started meeting them with so much awe and almost because if you think about it that way, when you then have a cramp, there are not so, all the other inner organs, we actually don't feel them unless we have eaten something wrong, but we don't feel our intestines. Well, we can learn to be present with them, but many people, but the womb with the uterus, with those menstrual cramps, it suddenly became so fascinating and so wonderful, because I felt that I can hear that voice, and I can almost feel that these cramps in my hands. It became a whole different, that when I had a cramp, I had to say, oh no, I want to lie down and just really be with that cramp, because this is so unique. Which might be triggering for some listeners. I know premenstrual symptoms can be very tough, and yet it's a voice, and it's an invitation to listen, I dare to say.
And we talk now a lot about pain now, like the physical pain or the traumas and stuff that can be stored, and to make space in there, there's so much joy, there's so much strength, there's so much yes to life, because it's a life giver. I mean, the womb is a life giver, and there is so much life force in there. And again, through that widening, to give space also to this life force. I mean, it's so beautiful. Like, I just had that picture of this seminar with this women with dancing, and you kind of see the lightening up of their wombs and this yes. So there is also a lot of yes in there, and to support that yes for life, and this power of being in that body.
Yes, that is an amazing image, the lightening up of the womb, and absolutely, and again, it's such a potent little text you have with your Dance of the Womb, where you're also right. It is the source of all life, and the womb is all our first physical home. Yes. And it is exactly, I've been writing and thinking a lot, moving into that in these last months, a lot, how our womb is, and I know that you love the embryo, the story of the embryo as well. The embryo, it's like this, for me, it's like this super, super potent meeting point, because on one level, the womb is that one organ which, again, can nurture life. it is that life force, and it can nurture and grow that life force. And the embryo in itself is just a blueprint of pure divine intelligence. I mean, we all don't know how this is this is something beyond our understanding, what really sparks that unfolding process. And that all happens in our womb. And it doesn't matter if we are pregnant or if we will ever be or if we're not, but our womb still holds the potential, and that maybe is that light which we can spark any moment, that potential for the new.
And to remember, each one of us has been in a womb. You know, the inside. Each of us has experienced the inside till now. Science will do, but and I think it's so important to have, we have been inside a womb, not in ours, but in another, and to have resonated with one. It's also something that really can feed in our awareness of that there is space inside of new stories.
Yeah, thanks for saying that. That's a great impulse. Of course, we have been in a womb with our womb.
Yeah.
And that now really makes me hungry to explore that in space with movement, or just just see what happens if we. How did you play with that, kind of to tap back into the felt memory of when you were in a womb?
Yes, and to add that, it's like the uterine wall. It's like the first touch. You know, it's like it's our sense. So it's our first sense. It's the touch. Of course, there is also the bladder, but you know, it's like if we get stronger and push more, it's like the whole uterus that gives resonance to us, that also forms, shapes us, as it's also we are in relationship with it. So it's kind of our first home, our first relationship, as we are in the embryonic way of exploring in the womb. And it's something beautiful. Like we did several times to be in a tissue and behold from the others, and get in the tissue, and you know, explore how this is to be surrounded of this nourishing, saying yes organ that supports life, and to how is that, you know, to remember that it doesn't matter if you had if you were in a good pregnancy or, you know, not so, what all the things were, but physically, cellularly, to revisit that, and to there was that, being surrounded of that, and I have now an organ of that in me. It's like, you know, there is no baby in there, but there is this surrounding that it still has this space in it, that's like this potency of that, holding life, being in relationship, because that's, you know, it's like being in relationship with this growing being, or then when we go outside of the womb, it's like this being in relationship with the bladder, being in relationship with all that what's around the womb. So it's like this this communication that for me has the womb in it, and it can go outside. It can be manifested through dance, through movement outside, and giving it a voice.
Absolutely, and remembering those qualities. I always think, wow, right, it's so amazing. When I was in a womb, that womb provided me in that moment of everything I needed. There was nutrition, there was warmth there. Not everyone would experience love. I know that my mom was able to to be in a loving place, let's say. But there was nutrition, warmth. There were all my basic needs were met. That's what I'm trying to say. Also basic, in inverted commas, basic. But all my needs were met, and I somehow feel by remembering that felt memory experience, I do think that we can still kind of use those qualities to keep nurturing ourselves when we tap into this womb energy, because exactly the potential to keep nurturing is always there, and we can just forget about it, but we can get into dialogue and just see, wow, how does that nurture my being now as an adult woman?
Yes.
In the same way like it did when I was an embryo.
Yes. And of course it can also help repattering, if exactly like if there was not all the nourishment maybe in a pregnancy, and to re-experience that is like, yes, but now I'm safe, or now I feel love. I'm held from those 5 women around the tissue, and they're here for me 100%, or to give that a restory. a new way, and with a loving kindness. And there was something else that just came into my mind, but it just went.
Restore the relationship to our womb. She was never against us, right? We can grow into a place in our society where it's just bloody damn womb.
Yes.
Hates me.
Yes, and the womb, as it was our first relationship, our first dialogue, we always can call it back. Like, sometimes I need more protection. I call back my womb around me. And I know, okay, I'm safe. It's okay. I can go through, I don't know, a very, very busy train station, and I'm just protected at the moment, or whatever it is. So we can call those memories back. If we inhabit this feeling, if we revisit and ourselves, yes, true, okay, yes, and this, can so support our, the womb around us and the womb in us, and then they can start to communicate as well. Or what we started with our conversation of the.
I just want to say we're back with my womb and the social womb, and how exactly we can really call upon her, we can fall back onto her, we can rely on her, we can feel, she is in our womb, is in our pelvic ball, but she's got our back, that's also something to experiment with. Can I feel that womb energy in my back? Can I, or on any given day, where do I need this womb energy? This womb energy for me, I now think is, wow, it's just this ever nurturing, caring, this energy which says, Florina, grow, go.
Yes, and creativity. And creativity. I mean, you need so much creativity to create the human being. This creativity of bringing this into the world, and this creation. And yes, to have that strength and that trust in that, because we all experienced it.
Yes.
Excuse me.
Wow. Yeah, a real conversation about womb journeys and womb stories, and I've ended up with as many mind maps and notes that I never do, because it was so sparking so many questions in for me, new things, which is amazing. I've also written down at one point the widening womb, which is another lovely something. At one point you said widening womb. So many wonderful things. And we made a whole circle. It always fascinates me, Anja, how sometimes conversations, I think, if we follow how our bodies, they are also cyclical.
True. You made it like in an hour. Beautiful.
I feel that is an amazing place a very creative place to leave, to let this conversation rest, to let it work through all our listeners, and do get in touch with me or with Anja. I can also share anything with Anja which you share with me, how that lands with you. And
I have something to round it up for me. I feel like it's a...
Yes, please.
If we give the space to listen to our wombs, we also give the space to each other to be listening to their wombs. And I think it's so important to have that knowing in ourselves. If we give the space to listen to us, we also give the space for each other. For me, this is very important, as it's for me really in the network of this awareness to rest in our wombs.
Thanks for saying that. Absolutely, yeah. And that brings me to round up by saying to hold that close to my heart, that all the womb work I do for myself, I do for the world, because my wonderful teacher Cree always says inner change is social change.
Yes.
And womb work is world work. That's my last 2 words.
Peace work.
Peace work, womb work is peace work.
Yes.
And may this, it's actually nice now, may this conversation spark very potent, especially in these times, very meaningful intentions with everyone who listens. Thank you so much, Anja, for being here and sharing.
Thank you, Florina, for inviting me and open that space for our conversation.
Thank you, Anja Gysin, for being with me and us, and for sharing your incredible, genuine wisdom and experience with us. I have so enjoyed this conversation, and for me it felt definitely like sitting in circle with another wonderful, softly rebellious woman, and I'm just so grateful for the container of this podcast. And I very much hope that you, dear listener, that you also take some kind of inspiration, takeaways, questions, thoughts, impulses with you. And I would love to hear from you. I so love receiving your emails, and I respond to every single email. My email is softrebellion@florinatali.com. On social media, it's @florina.tali. This is a conversation, and this whole project and movement of the Soft Rebellion is nurtured and needs to be nurtured by our conversation. So please do get in touch, share with me what you took from this episode. Also share with me who you would like to have on the podcast as a guest, or if you would like to be the podcast, if you would like to be the guest. May this be a platform which serves all of us. I wish you a wonderful day, evening, morning, and go and be your unique, weird, and wonderful self.